The Heath Hen. A bird whose name alone evokes a sense of nostalgia and a connection to a bygone era. Even the name sounds like something out of a Thoreau poem, a relic of the natural world that once was. It conjures images of windswept coastal plains, the scent of bayberry and beach plum in the air, and the rustle of grasses underfoot. This bird, a relative of the prairie chicken, was once as much a part of New England's identity as clam chowder and nor'easters. It was a symbol of the region's wild and untamed spirit. Imagine, if you will, flocks so large they darkened the sky, their wings beating in unison, creating a symphony of nature. That was the reality of the Heath Hen in centuries past, a time when nature's abundance seemed endless. From southern New Hampshire down to Virginia, these birds thrived in the scrubby, open landscapes they called home. They were a common sight, a part of the everyday tapestry of life. They were plump, about the size of a small chicken, with a mottled brown plumage that blended seamlessly with their surroundings. Their camouflage was perfect, making them nearly invisible to predators. But their call, a low, booming sound echoed across the heaths, a testament to their once thriving presence. It was a sound that defined the landscape, a call that could be heard for miles. Sadly, those booming calls are now silent. The heaths that once rang with their voices are now quiet, a poignant reminder of what has been lost. The last wild heath hen, a male nicknamed Booming Ben, disappeared from Martha's Vineyard in 1932. His disappearance marked the end of an era, the final note in a song that had played for centuries. His story, and the story of his kind, is a stark reminder of the fragility of nature and the lasting impact of human actions. It is a tale of survival and loss, of resilience and vulnerability. The heath hen's journey from abundance to extinction is a tale woven with threads of habitat loss, overhunting, and even bad luck. It is a story that highlights the delicate balance of ecosystems and the consequences of tipping that balance. It's a story worth telling, if for no other reason than to learn from the past and protect the future. By remembering the heath hen, we honor its place in our history and reaffirm our commitment to preserving the natural world for generations to come. To understand the heath hen's fate, we must journey back to a time when these birds were anything but rare. Picture a landscape teeming with life, where the air was filled with the calls of countless birds, and the fields were alive with their movement. In colonial New England, they were a common sight, so abundant that they were dubbed the poor man's bird. These birds were everywhere, from the dense forests to the open grasslands, making them an integral part of the ecosystem and daily life. And for good reason. Heath hens were a readily available source of protein for settlers and early colonists. They were easy to catch, and their meat provided much-needed sustenance during harsh winters and lean times. They were easy to hunt, and their numbers seemed inexhaustible. Families would often send out their children to gather these birds, knowing they would return with enough to feed everyone. Imagine a time when a walk through the grasslands meant practically tripping over these birds. Their presence was so ubiquitous that it was almost impossible to avoid them. That was the reality of the heath hen's abundance. They were a natural part of the landscape, blending seamlessly into the environment, yet standing out due to their sheer numbers. Their meat, while not considered a delicacy, was filling and readily available. It was a staple in the diet of many settlers, providing a reliable source of nourishment. This abundance, however, would prove to be a double-edged sword. The very trait that made them a reliable food source, their plentiful numbers, also made them vulnerable to exploitation. People began to take their presence for granted, assuming they would always be there. The very trait that made them a reliable food source, their plentiful numbers, also made them vulnerable to exploitation. Overhunting became rampant, with little thought given to the long-term consequences. It's a familiar story, one that has played out time and again with species across the globe. When a resource is perceived as limitless, its value is often overlooked until it's too late. The heath hen's story is a poignant reminder of the delicate balance between abundance and sustainability. When a resource is perceived as limitless, its value is often overlooked until it's too late. The settlers, in their quest for survival, failed to recognize the signs of decline until the heath hen's numbers had dwindled to a critical point. The heath hen's story, unfortunately, is no exception. It serves as a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the consequences of unchecked exploitation. Today, we can only look back and wonder what might have been if we had valued this poor man's bird a little more. The decline of the heath hen began slowly, almost imperceptibly, like a whisper in the wind. As colonial settlements grew into towns and cities, the heath hen's habitat began to vanish. The vast open grasslands they depended on were carved up for agriculture, timber, and human development. Imagine a lush green field teeming with life slowly being devoured by concrete and fences. That was the fate of the heath hen's home. And as their habitat shrank, so too did their numbers. Overhunting, fueled by the misconception of the bird's inexhaustible abundance, further decimated the population. What was once considered a sustainable food source became a casualty of human appetites and disregard for the natural world. By the late 1800s, the heath hen had disappeared from the mainland altogether. Their once expansive range had been reduced to a single, tenuous refuge, Martha's Vineyard, a small island off the coast of Massachusetts. Martha's Vineyard, with its windswept dunes, scrub oak forests, and open heathlands, became the last sanctuary for the beleaguered heath hen. By the late 19th century, only a few hundred birds remained, clinging to survival on this island haven. Imagine a small band of survivors huddled together against the encroaching storm. That was the plight of the heath hen on Martha's Vineyard. The island, though a refuge, was not without its dangers. Predators, such as hawks and foxes, posed a constant threat, and the limited habitat meant that competition for resources was fierce. Despite these challenges, the heath hens of Martha's Vineyard showed remarkable resilience. They adapted to their island home, their numbers slowly beginning to rebound in the early 20th century. This fragile recovery, however, would be short-lived. Hope and heartbreak conservation efforts, and the 1916 fire. The early 1900s saw the dawn of a new era in conservation, and the plight of the heath hen did not go unnoticed. This period marked a significant shift in how humanity viewed its relationship with nature. People began to understand the importance of preserving the delicate balance of ecosystems and the species that inhabit them. In 1908, a dedicated group of conservationists established a 1,600-acre sanctuary on Martha's Vineyard specifically for the birds' protection. This sanctuary became a beacon of hope, a place where the heath hen could thrive away from the threats that had driven it to the edge of extinction. Imagine a flurry of activity scientists, volunteers, and nature enthusiasts, all united in their mission to save this iconic bird. They worked tirelessly, day and night, driven by a shared passion and a common goal. Their efforts were not just about saving a species, they were about preserving a piece of the natural world for future generations. Habitat restoration efforts were undertaken, predator control measures were implemented, and the heath hen population, for a brief shining moment, seemed to respond. The sanctuary buzzed with life, and the sight of the heath hens strutting through the grasslands brought joy and hope to all who witnessed it. By 1915, their numbers had climbed to over 2,000, a testament to the tireless efforts of those who fought for their survival. It was a remarkable achievement, a glimmer of success in the often challenging world of conservation. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Nature, with all its unpredictability, was about to deal a cruel blow to the conservationists' hard-won progress. In 1916, disaster struck. A devastating wildfire swept across Martha's Vineyard, engulfing much of the heath hen's remaining habitat in flames. The fire raged uncontrollably, fueled by dry conditions and strong winds, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. A devastating wildfire swept across Martha's Vineyard, engulfing much of the heath hen's remaining habitat in flames. The fire, coupled with a harsh winter and an increase in goshawk predation, decimated the population. The once thriving sanctuary was reduced to ashes, and the heath hen's future looked bleaker than ever. The fire, coupled with a harsh winter and an increase in goshawk predation, decimated the population. The combination of these factors created a perfect storm of adversity that the heath hen could not withstand. The conservationists watched in despair as their hard work was undone in a matter of months. The heath hen, once again, was pushed to the brink. The dream of saving this remarkable bird seemed to be slipping away, but the spirit of conservation and the lessons learned from this tragedy would continue to inspire future efforts to protect our planet's precious wildlife. As the heath hen population dwindled, the ratio of males to females became increasingly skewed. This imbalance made it even harder for the species to recover. Disease also cast a dark shadow over the remaining birds, further complicating their fight for survival. In the spring of 1932, the last known heath hen was seen and heard. His lonely calls echoed across the empty landscape, a poignant reminder of a species on the brink of extinction. His voice, once part of a vibrant chorus, now marked the end of an era. The story of the heath hen serves as a cautionary tale about the fragility of our natural world. Their legacy lives on in the lessons we've learned about conservation and the importance of protecting our wildlife. The feathers of the heath hen, once a common sight, now symbolize a lost chapter in our environmental history. Today, there's talk of de-extinction, a scientific endeavor to bring back the heath hen. While the possibility is exciting, it also raises important ethical and ecological questions. Could we, and should we, bring back the heath hen? The future of this once abundant bird remains uncertain, but the conversation continues.